Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today we're going to build an Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter. Now, the Blood Hunter is a combat type class that relies on blood magic and was created by DM Matt Mercer. Now, today's character build is going to feature the revised edition that was posted by Matt Mercer in 2020. Now, I myself am not familiar with the previous edition, so a lot of this is going to be brand new to me. But there is a lot to unpack here and a lot of fun to be had, so let's go ahead and dig in. Today we're going to build a Blood Hunter, the Order of the Lycan. Before we get started, just a reminder, if you've not joined our Discord yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Come on over and hang out with me and a lot of cool folks who know a lot about D&D. And if you're enjoying this type of content, please consider supporting the channel by hitting that subscribe button and buying my PDFs and books on Drive-Thru RPG. Let's begin our character build with our backstory. Now, I don't have a lot invested in the backstory of this character, but I'm leaving a lot open to the Dungeon Master as far as where they want to take it. The most important thing, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is at level 3, when we officially become into the Order of the Lycan, then we are going to need to work that into the story somehow, if, of course, we start out our campaign at level 1. Now, just a reminder that the Blood Hunter is a homebrew class, so if you want to play this in your game, be sure to ask your Dungeon Master before you bring a character like this to your table. So let's take a look at our backstory. Tamaska Araleth is a young 120-year-old wood elf with copper skin, silky brown hair, and bright green eyes. She has a slender frame at 5'4", 110 pounds. She's a protector, friendly, and quick to help a stranger in need. In the event that she becomes threatened, angry, or loses her temper, however, she has a ferocious demeanor that will reveal itself. Tamaska and her mother, Rudina Araleth, have lived outside of a small human village for several decades now. Rudina is a member of a special order of combat-oriented protectors that have willingly accepted the curse of lycanthropy. The Order of the Lycan are blood hunters that specialize in healcraft and have the ability to control their transformation into the hybrid form of a werewolf. This order has vowed to protect those that cannot protect themselves from fiend, fae, and other evils that permeate the woodlands. At present, there are only 11 members of the Lycan Order, with Tamaska's mother, Rudina, being one. Through her life, Tamaska was trained by her mother to wield a short sword and shield and has become a formidable fighter. She has proven herself as a guardian of the local village. Now, it is time for her to begin her training. She has survived the ritual of the Hunter's Bane and is now bound to the darkness and her pledge to defeat it through her life's blood. This is Tamaska's birthright, to become a member of the Order of the Lycan alongside her mother, who happens to be the only other elf in the order, and to use her power to fight the malicious creatures of the world. Shortly after undertaking the Hunter's Bane, fiendish activity is starting to seep into the area, and Tamaska must now go forth to help form a resistance and shape her new powers, fueled by healcraft magic. So here we are as a level 1 blood hunter. Tamaska has the soldier background, and I have chosen the race of wood elf. Now, I'd like to go ahead and explain a little bit of why I made these two choices. For soldier background, I wanted her to have the intimidate skill, and the only background that I could find that had it, at least I believe, is the soldier. And so I tied that into the backstory by revealing that Tamaska has been training all of her life to become a blood hunter and to become inducted into the Order of the Lycan. So I feel like she has had plenty of military style and soldier-like background and training. As far as the wood elf is concerned, that is going to tie into our ability scores, and I kind of wanted to max those out a little bit, and that provided the best route. So with our ability scores, let's take a look at those. Using the standard array, I put a 15 into Constitution because I really want her to have a bag of hit points, and having that at 15 at level 4, 8, or 12, or whenever I do an ability score improvement, I do have the option of taking the Resilient feat. Now give Con a +1, and it'll also give us proficiency in Constitution saving throws, and it will also add a bunch of hit points if we decide that we need them when we reach that level. And now for the rest of them, I put a 14 into Dexterity. Being an elf gives that a +2 bonus, so that gives us a 16, which is a +3. And as you can see, I will be going more of a Dexterity build with this character. And I put the 13 into Wisdom, and the +1 from the Wood Elf makes that a 14, a 12 in Intelligence, a 10 in Charisma, and an 8 in Strength. Now, this character is now a Dexterity and an Intelligence-based character, which I believe is different from what it used to be. But what I have found while building her is that the Blood Hunter and the Order of the Lycan in particular use all of the ability scores. So it would have made just as much sense to go with a human and get a +1 to each trait, because there seems to be something along the lines on every level that you're going to incorporate one of these ability scores. Now, as far as Tamaska's skills are concerned, we received Intimidation and Athletics from the soldier background. And again, we'll go over Intimidation here in a little bit. As far as being an elf, we get the Keen Senses ability, which gives us proficiency in perception. And then we got to choose 3, and I picked Acrobatics because of our high dexterity, Insight because I'd like for her to be able to tell if people are telling the truth or lying to her. And I also picked Survival because she is going to be part beast as far as the Lycanthrope is concerned. She's going to be a werewolf, and she should be able to track things, and she's lived in the woods all of her life, so she should be able to survive out in the wilderness. Looking at a few other things, she will speak Common and Elvish. She gets the Gaming Set and Vehicles tool proficiencies from her background, and Alchemist supplies as far as being a Blood Hunter. Studded leather armor and a shield, short sword, and a hand crossbow. She's a 1d10 hit die creature, so this will result in an armor class of 17. That is 12 from the studded leather armor, +3 for dexterity is a 15, +2 for the shield is a 17. That's pretty good for level 1. She will also get a +3 on initiative because of her dex. And one of the things I'm going to be very excited about with Tamaska and being part of the Order of the Lycan is she is going to be extremely fast. And we start that off by picking the Wood Elf, which is a 35 foot speed, as opposed to most medium creatures are 30. And we're going to get even better than that, so stay tuned. She has 12 hit points, and we will talk about the Blood Curse here in just a little bit. There's the personality traits taken from the soldier background. And next up, from being a Wood Elf, she is going to have dark vision for 60 feet. Now here is a little bit of something cool for you to ponder, and that is the fact that werewolves don't actually have dark vision. Now there are a few lycanthropes that do. I believe the weretiger is one, and I'm not sure what the other ones are, but not all lycanthropes have dark vision. So for her to have dark vision as far as being an elf and being a hybrid form werewolf is actually pretty darn cool. We've already talked about Keen Senses being an elf that gives us the proficiency in perception. Fey Ancestry, if you're not familiar with elves, we get advantage on saving throws versus charmed, and magic cannot put us nighty-night or to sleep. Trance. We do not need sleep, just need 4 hours of semi-conscious meditation. And there's that ability, Fleet of Foot, that makes Tamaska a base speed of 35 feet. And then final racial ability is Mask of the Wild. We can attempt to hide, even if only lightly obscured by foliage, rain, snow, and natural phenomena. Now, let's dig into our very first class ability, and that is Hunter's Bane. So Hunter's Bane is kind of like the initiation for the Blood Hunter. You go through this long-guarded ritual, and it alters your blood, forever binding you to the darkness and honing your senses against it. And as a result, now that we have this blood magic bubbling through our system, we now have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track fae, fiends, or undead, as well as intelligence ability checks to recall information about them. So again, as you can see, we're using 2 ability scores just right here at first level. We've got wisdom survival and intelligence based checks from our Hunter's Bane. Now, if any of our Hemocraft magic requires a save DC, that is 8 plus our proficiency bonus plus our intelligence modifier. And with the Order of the Lycan, I've kind of went around where we will very, very rarely use our spell save DC. Now, the other first level ability we get is called Blood Maledict, and this is actually going to include a Blood Curse and a Hemocraft die. And you can see that for first level, we get a D4 Hemocraft die, and we will know 1 Blood Curse. And that is kind of like a blood magic that we can bring about a type of effect on another creature or ourselves. And we also have the ability through our Blood Maledict to amplify our Blood Curse. So as you'll see here in a few moments, every Blood Curse has an ability that you can invoke, and it also has an Amplify ability. And if you choose to use the Amplify ability, you roll that D4 Hemocraft die, and you lose hit points equal to the result of that die roll. Now, there are 8 different blood curses that you can get at level 1, and there are a few that you can't get until higher levels. And if you'd like to look at all of these blood curses, then I highly encourage you to go to the DM's Guild and download the PDF, and I will put a link in the description below. But for now, I will just go over the blood curses that Tamaska will be acquiring, and the one that I have chosen for her at first level, because we just get 1, is Blood Curse of the Anxious. As a bonus action, you can magnify the adrenaline in the body of a creature within 30 feet of you, making them susceptible to forceful influence. Until the end of your next turn, all creatures have advantage on charisma intimidation checks directed at the target creature. So now you can kind of see why I wanted that intimidation skill, is because I want to have Tamaska have the ability to use her Blood Curse of the Anxious, and if she doesn't want to outright slay someone, she can invoke this and use an intimidation check and try to get people to either give up if they're in a combat situation, or intimidate them to do what she needs them to do for, of course, the greater good. So she would be using this a lot on more of the evil or the bad guys, or those that oppose her from being able to complete her mission, task, or to protect those that need it. Now, if we amplify the Blood Curse of the Anxious, that is rolling that D4 Hemocraft die and subtracting that amount from our hit points, so we lose that much HP, then the next Wisdom saving throw the target has to make before this curse ends has disadvantage. Once we've amplified the Blood Curse, we must finish a long rest before we can amplify it again. So not only can we use Blood Curse of the Anxious to gain advantage on our intimidation checks, we can also amplify this so that that same target will have disadvantage on a wisdom saving throw. And again, I thought this was, most of the blood curses are combat oriented, and this one could be combat, could be role playing, but it seemed like a lot of fun, and I wanted to build Tamaska around this idea that she's a very nice, friendly, sweet wood elf, but if she gets angry or mad or opposed, then she can hulk out into her werewolf form or just out and right intimidate someone. So with our Blood Maledict or our Blood Curse, we can regain the use of this every short or long rest. And one more thing to note, that if we want to amplify that, we must announce that we are amplifying it while we are invoking the curse, but before it affects the target of that curse. So really neat. We'll get another one of those at level 6, so we'll check it out there. That is all I have for level 1. Let's advance Tamaska to a level 2 Blood Hunter. Okay, so Tamaska is now a level 2 Blood Hunter and has 20 hit points. She is a 2d10 hit die creature. And I'm going to use this section in the middle for keeping track of two things. One is our Blood Curse. We can use one of those per short or long rest. And the other one, which we're going to talk about here shortly, is our Hemocraft die, and that is currently a 1d4. So let's take a look at our level 2 abilities. The first one is fairly simple. We get to pick a fighting style. We can choose between archery, dueling, great weapon fighting, or two-hand weapon fighting. And I have chose the dueling fighting style so that Tamaska can keep her shield and her short sword. And what that does is any attack that we get, as long as we're only holding one melee weapon, we get to add a +2 to that damage. So our short sword with a +5 to hit is now 1d6 plus 5 piercing damage. And again, we get that +3 bonus because a short sword has the finesse property, allowing us to use our dexterity modifier instead of our strength modifier. So our other second level ability is called Crimson Rite, and this allows us to invoke a Rite of Hemocraft within one of our weapons at the cost of our own vitality. So we're going to lose some hit points to activate an ability, which seems to be the theme of the Blood Hunter. So as a bonus action, we can activate a Crimson Rite on a single weapon with the elemental energy of a known rite of our choice. And this is going to last until we finish a short or long rest, or if we are no longer holding the weapon at the end of our turn. Now, when we activate this, we're going to lose a number of hit points equal to one roll of our Hemocraft die. And if you recall, at second level, that is a d4. So we activate our rite, we roll a d4, we lose that many hit points. Now, while this is active, any attacks from this weapon deal an extra d4 of damage of the chosen type. Now, this damage is magical, and it will increase as our Hemocraft die increases, so that is very powerful. Now, a weapon can only have a single active rite at a time. Now, the primal rites that we have to choose from are Rite of the Flame, which deals fire damage, Rite of the Frozen, which is cold damage, and Rise of the Storm, which does lightning damage. Now, for Tamaska, I have chosen lightning damage, and a lot of this will come down to your campaign. I would probably, if you're interested in something like fire especially, talk to your DM, because if you're going to be playing in a campaign, let's say you hit second level, you choose Rite of the Flame because fire is cool, and you start whipping out fire damage, and then all of a sudden you're going to Avernus, and now for the foreseeable future, you're going to be fighting fiends and such as devils and demons that have resistances to fire. It's going to kind of bum you out that the key abilities of your character class isn't going to be as effective, and you can't even choose a new one until 7th level. So I would say if you're in doubt of what your campaign has in store for your character, then probably Rise of the Storm with lightning damage is going to be your safest bet. But the other two would be a lot of fun too. So just a little bit of words on that. So let's take a look at how this works. We activate our Crimson Rite as a bonus action on our short sword. We now roll our d4 and we subtract that result from our hit points. So if we roll 3, we lose 3 hit points. Now our short sword is imbued with magical lightning, and if we swing into hit, we add a +5 for our attack bonus, and if we hit our target, we do a d6 +5 of piercing damage from our short sword, and we also get to roll a d4 of lightning damage. So very cool indeed. And again, the Rite of the Storm will fade after a short or long rest, or if you lose contact with that weapon, you can reactivate your Crimson Rite, but each time you reactivate it, you'll have to lose hit points equal to your Hemocraft die result. And that should do it for level 2. Level 3, we're going to be playing werewolves. Here we go, Lycanthropy and the Order of the Lycan. So Tamaska is now a level 3 blood hunter and will undergo a ceremony called the Taming. And this is where she is officially injected with the curse of lycanthropy. Now, I would probably get with my DM at this point to see if this might be something that we would role play out or at least acknowledge it in game. Now, what the taming does to the character is it gives them the willpower to be able to shift into a hybrid form and be able to control that hybrid form. And as an order of the Lycan, you could choose whatever were creature that you'd like, but for today's video, I thought it would just be good to go with the werewolf. So Tamaska is, again, level 3. Now, Order of the Lycan, after undergoing the taming, she has 28 hit points and is a 3d10 creature. At level 3, she gets 2 abilities. The first ability is Heightened Senses, and that is where the natural abilities of a werewolf begin to take effect. And we now have advantage on our wisdom perception checks as long as they rely on hearing or smell. Now, the next part is called the Hybrid Transformation, and this is where Tamaska can invoke her curse of lycanthropy and become a hybrid werewolf. Now, as a bonus action, she can Hulk out or become the werewolf hybrid, and this will last for 1 hour. Now, while in this form, she can still speak, use equipment, and wear armor. At any time, using a bonus action, she can revert back to normal, and this will also happen if she falls unconscious or drops to 0 hit points. Now, once Tamaska has used her hybrid transformation, she must finish a short or long rest before she can use it again. So let's take a look at all of these awesome abilities that she gets as a hybrid lycanthrope. The first is Feral Might, and that gives her a +1 to melee damage rolls. And with this, she also has advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. She gains Resilient Hide, which means she has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical, non-silver weapons. Holy smokes. And while not wearing heavy armor, she gains a +1 bonus to her armor class. Whew. Awesome. Because what I have planned for her with her Resilient Hide is she will not be using that shield. So that armor class will actually drop by 1 from a 17 to a 16 while she's in hybrid form. Predatory Strikes, speaking of which, we can apply our Crimson Right feature to our unarmed attacks as a single weapon. We can use Dexterity instead of Strength for the attack and damage rolls of our unarmed strikes. And when we use the attack action with an unarmed strike, we can make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action. And those, just going to call it what it is, those claw attacks are going to deal 1d6 worth of damage. Monstrous. She is going to be tearing things up. So she goes into her hybrid form and she can now swing twice with her claws. We're going to use Dexterity and we are going to get a d6 of slashing damage for each claw. But not only that, but we're going to be able to invoke our Crimson Right, and we're going to be able to have a Chemocraft die of lightning damage. And since this is counting our unarmed strike as a single weapon, then both of our hits on the damage will invoke that lightning damage. And I'll show you how this is going to work here in just a little bit. Now, the downside to all of this is if we begin our turn with no more than half of our maximum hit points, we need to make a DC 8 Wisdom saving throw. If we do not make that, then we have this Bloodlust, and we move to the nearest creature that we can see and use the attack action on that creature. And then after that, if we want to use our extra attack, we can do that, or we can just regain our posture for the rest of our turn. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack. Let's take a look at our character sheet here and go over things. 17 with sword and shield, and a 16 if we are using our claw attacks and have our Resilient Hide. Easy enough. Then we scroll down here. I've still got my short sword. I took that hand crossbow, threw that out of there. We don't even want to look at that right now. We're going to take a look at these claw attacks. So claw attack, as an action, we can attack. We get a +5 bonus because of our dexterity. If we hit, we get a d6. Plus, we get a +1 from our feral might and a +3 from our dexterity. So that'll be a d6 +4 of slashing damage. On top of that, if we activated our Crimson Right, we will also roll a d4, which is our Hemocraft die, of lightning damage. And then, if we haven't used our bonus action already, we can use our bonus action to swing again with our claw. So one of the things that I would consider is, if I know a fight's coming up, I'm going to go ahead and go into my hybrid transformation and then activate my Crimson Right. So I'm going in there prepared, and then I'm just going to swing, and we are going to claw and mess stuff up. So very cool. There is a ton of abilities at 3rd level. It almost seems overpowered here, but my goodness, is this fun. If you ever wanted to play a werewolf in D&D, this is it right here. And it's beautifully drawn out here, and I am just having a ton of fun looking at what Tamaska can do, and she is just going to be a badass. And this really ties into, I did want to mention in the backstory where she does lose her temper from time to time when she gets angry and things like that, and that's just going to culminate in the fact that she is now a werewolf. One more thing before we move on, let's not just keep the hybrid transformation for combat. Let's use it for role-playing as well. As you remember, we took the intimidation skill with the soldier background, so we're proficient with intimidation. We took that blood curse of the anxious, so we can also have advantage on intimidations. And what better way to role-play this out than to be threatening someone to leave people alone, or to make a correction, or to write something, than to just all of a sudden just hulk out into this hybrid werewolf and just scare the bejesus out of them. I mean, this is crazy. This is fun. This is a lycanthrope. Let's move on to level 4. Okay, so Tamaska is now a level 4 Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter, and we get an ability score improvement or a feat, and you knew that I was going to do this. We are going to pump that +2 into dexterity, giving us an 18, increasing our modifier to +4, in which I have gone through and made all of the necessary adjustments, giving us improved dexterity saving throws, acrobatics. Our initiative goes up, our armor class goes up, so this is now an 18 and a 17. And our attacks go up, +6 to hit. Our damage is 1d6 +6, which is 4 for dex, +2 from our dual fighting style. And then, of course, our claw attacks is 4 for dex, +1 for our feral might, and we are looking good at level 4. So that's it. We took the +2 to dex, and let's take a look at Tamaska at level 5. So here we are at level 5. Tamaska gets a few more bonuses. So let's start with our proficiency bonus. That is now a +3, and I have made the necessary changes to our saving throws, to our skill checks, and to our attack bonuses. So our claws are now a +7, as well as our short sword a +7. We also now go from a D4 Hemocraft die to a D6. So that is going to be fantastic, and that is also going to change our Crimson Right. So now we will lose a D6 worth of hit points when we activate our Crimson Right, but now we will do a D6 of lightning damage when we hit with a Crimson Right weapon. Now, the other thing that we get at level 5 is an extra attack. Now, let's look at the craziness that is going to be our hybrid form attacks. And that is, we get to do 3 unarmed attacks. So we throw everything down, we go into hybrid form. Next turn, we use our attack action, we use our bonus action for another attack, and we use our extra attack. And those are going to be +7 to hit. And if our Crimson Right is activated, we're going to get a d6 of damage +5, and that is slashing damage from a claw. And then we're going to add another d6 from our lightning damage. So that's going to be... I can't even do the math on that. That's just crazy. Put a comment in the section below. What's our max output on that? That's a lot. That is a lot. If we hit 3 times, it's pretty much 3d6 +15. I forgot the lightning damage. Holy cow. Put it in the notes below. I'm going to move us on to level 6. So Tamaska is now a level 6 Order of the Lycan. She has 52 hit points, and she is going to acquire 2 more abilities. The first one is a Blood Hunter ability entitled Brand of Castigation. And what this is when we hit a creature with our Crimson Right, we can choose to brand that creature with Hemocraft magic. Now, for as long as that creature is branded, if they deal damage to us or another creature within 5 feet, then they are going to suffer psychic damage equal to our intelligence modifier. Now for Tamaska, that's only 1 point of psychic damage, but as far as I can tell, this branding will last until we dismiss it. So this creature could be branded for a very long time. Now, if we do dismiss it or want to brand a different creature, we cannot use this ability again until we finish a short or long rest. And that creature does have the option, if they can dispel magic, that will also get rid of that. Now, the second ability we get is we now have 2 of our blood curses. So our second blood curse, again, there are quite a few of them in the PDF, so I'll click on the link that's in the description below, take a look at the PDF and see which ones that you would like to have or that you would use if you're building this character. But the one that I chose is Blood Curse of Binding. And as a bonus action, we can attempt to bind a creature within 30 feet, and it can't be no more than 1 size larger than we are. Now, they have to either succeed on a strength saving throw, or their speed is going to be reduced to 0, and they can take no reactions until the end of our next turn. Now, if we decide to amplify this curse, that means we roll our d6 Hemocraft die and lose that many hit points, then this curse is going to last for 1 minute and will take effect regardless of the size category. Of course, they still get a saving throw. Now, the creature does have the opportunity on each of its turns to attempt another strength saving throw, and if they make that, then the curse will end. Now, we can look at this initially as a way for if Tamaska is in hand-to-hand combat and she's not faring so well, then possibly use that bonus action to attempt to apply the blood curse of binding, and then if the curse takes effect, since that creature can no longer do a reaction, then we could hightail it out of there without the threat of an attack of opportunity. Now, the problem with that is if we're in hand-to-hand combat with creatures, most of them will be fairly strong and probably have a very good chance of making their strength saving throw. So where we could use this in an even better situation is perhaps on a magic user or a wizard that we know has the ability to counterspell, and if we can curse them with Blood Curse of the Binding, they'll be unable to take that reaction with counterspell. Of course, we got to be careful not to metagame, but if perhaps this is a villain that we have encountered before, we apply this Blood Curse, and then that wizard can no longer counterspell, and the rest of our party can go in and make some things happen. So that is Blood Curse of the Binding, and that is level 6 Order of the Lycan. Let's take a look at level 7. So at level 7, our Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter gets an ability called Stalker's Prowess, and that means that our speed increases by 10 feet. We can also add 10 feet to our long jump distance and 3 feet to our high jump distance. In addition, if we are in our hybrid form, then we gain some improved predatory strikes, and that is simply going to be that we get a +1 bonus to our attack rolls made with our claw attacks or unarmed strikes. Not only that, but if we have our Crimson Right ability active in our hybrid form, those unarmed strike are going to be treated like magical weapons. So they'll be able to overcome resistance and immunity from those types of creatures that are resistant or immune to those types of attack. So taking a look at our character sheet for Tamaska, she's now level 7 Order of the Lycan, and as you can see here, she now has a base speed of 45 feet. So as I said earlier, she's going to be super fast, and here she goes. 45 is really cool. And then on top of that, we look at that improved predatory strike, and now our claw attacks get a +8 when we're in hybrid form. Awesome stuff is happening, my friends. Let's advance her up to level 8. So at level 8, we get an ability score improvement, and I thought for just a few seconds about taking that resilient feat to bump up our hit points, but I couldn't resist taking our dexterity to a 20. So we now have a +5 to our dexterity. I have already made the necessary adjustments to our saving throws and to our acrobatic skill. And our armor class is now 19 in non-hybrid form and 18 in hybrid form. So that'll be very important. We have 68 hit points, 70-10 hit die, and of course our attacks and damages go up because of the dexterity increase. So our claw attacks in hybrid form now have a +9 to them. So look at this. This is a fighting machine, and she is built for some combat. I mean, this is going to be fantastic. So that is level 8. Let's go on to level 9. Okay, so Tamaska is now a level 9 Order of the Lycan, and a couple things happen here. The first is we get a +4 now to our proficiency bonus. So I have went ahead and made the necessary adjustments on our saving throws and our skills, and I have also made the necessary adjustments on our attack bonuses. So we now have a +9 with our short sword, and our claw attacks are made with a +10 to hit. Very, very good. One of the things I did forget to mention at level 7 is we did get to pick another primal right, and we had the option between fire or cold damage, so she can now use fire damage in addition to lightning damage if she chooses to do so. Now, the ability that we're going to pick up is a Blood Hunter ability for level 9 called Grim Psychometry, and that is where we are able to discern the history surrounding mysterious objects or places touched by evil. So if we are in this location or if we are holding this object, we can make an intelligence history check to recall information about a darker past or other sinister influences from this area or this item. And we also get advantage on this roll. So that will do it for level 9. Let's move on to the last level that we'll cover, level 10. So Tamaska is now a level 10 hybrid werewolf, Order of the Lycan blood hunter. Now she gets an ability called Dark Augmentation. This is a blood hunter ability that states that our speed increases by 5 feet. And not only that, but whenever we make a strength, dexterity, or constitution saving throw, we gain a bonus to that saving throw equal to our intelligence modifier. Now, I did not put a whole lot of intelligence into Tamaska's ability scores, but we will at least get that +1. So now all of those 3 ability scores, if we have to make a saving throw, get a +1 modifier. So let's look at our character sheet. Tamaska is a level 10 Order of the Lycan, and her move speed is now 50 feet. When you think that most characters have a 30-foot move speed, this is insane. And I told you earlier in the video, we are going to make her fast. She is fast and she is nimble. She's got that +9 to acrobatics. She's got a 20 dex, and she can move at 50 feet around. Holy smokes. Fast, nimble, quick. She has 84 hit points, and now she gets to use a 3rd curse. So she can use 3 of her blood curses, and that means we also get to pick one. And also, if you want to swap out your blood curses when you gain that ability, you are also more than welcome to swap one out when you do gain another one. So you can gain one and swap one out. But I have chosen Blood Curse of Exposure, which means when a creature we can see within 30 feet is hit with an attack or spell, that target loses resistance to the damage types of the attack or spell. And as you notice, I have taken the primal right for fire. So if I wanted to smack a creature that was resistant to fire, I could use my Blood Curse of Exposure to make them lose that resistance against that attack. And if we amplify this, the target instead loses invulnerability to the damage types of the attack or spell, having resistance to them until end of turn. So if we have a wizard that is wanting to mass die roll a fireball, we can use our Blood Curse of the Exposure to work in tandem to either remove the resistance to fire or to at least knock invulnerability to fire down to resistance. So very cool Blood Curse. And that is going to do it for our character build at a level 10 Order of the Lycan. Let's talk about a few more things and wrap things up. So that is Tamaska Araleth. She is our level 10 Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter. Now, there are a ton more abilities that you can get from levels 11 through 20, but in order to save a little bit of time on this video, I decided to leave those for you to discover as you go over and pick up the PDF and check out the Blood Hunter class for yourself. But I do have to say that there are so many more good things that you can get for your Order of the Lycan, including regeneration and a Blood Curse that involves a howl. So what did you think of the character we built today? And what do you think of the power level? I'm going to be honest. This seems a little bit overpowered for a game. Tamaska is going to be a monstrous threat. She's quick, she's agile, and she's tough as nails, and she's going to put down some damage. I would probably allow this character in my game, but I could definitely see where there would be some controversy with the power level of this character. So in the comment section below, let me know, what do you think of the Blood Hunter? What is your favorite subclass? Do you like the Order of the Lycan, or do you like one of the other 3 subclasses? And what are your favorite blood curses? And of course, the biggest question of all, what did you think of this character? Is she too powerful to play in your game? So that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, and on to the next.